What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a run-through and showcase of my top 5 absolute favorite dexterity weapons in Dark Souls 1. There's such a diverse slate of dexterity weapons and weapons as a whole that are presented to you in Dark Souls 1, and if we're going to speak quickly on a grand scale of things, we look at the Soulsborne series over the years. This is the one thing that this game series has done so well that makes it stand out and truly unique from other RPGs, giving the player control through customization and diversity. I think the beauty behind this all is the fact that you can start this game as a new player, stick and swear by one thing, to later on find out a few hours in or when you complete your playthrough that your opinion has completely changed. And that's why I highly suggest that you branch out and experiment with all the wonderful things that are presented to you. So I hope this video influences people, or at least sheds some light from the dexterity field. So let's start with the 2 honorable mentions that I figured I should shed some light on before climbing up my personal list with you guys of my absolute top 5 favorite weapons for overall use and the wonderful experience that is Dark Souls 1. The first of our 2 honorable mentions is the Aito Katana. You can get this fairly early in the game by visiting the upper part of Blighttown. I absolutely love this weapon, and it was a go-to for me when Dark Souls 1 initially came out on previous gen. What I love about this, it's the Uchi Katana more or less reversed with a unique R2 that creates a forward thrust to close in on opponents. Just like the other swords in its family, it also includes bleed damage, which adds on just to the overall usefulness of the weapon as a whole. It's also extremely lightweight, and at plus 15 you're looking at 220 base damage with the A scaling and dexterity for your bonus points. This is a weapon that you absolutely do not want to pass up, and you should definitely try out when given the chance. Our next weapon is controversial amongst the Dark Souls player base. However, it is extremely powerful, and I feel like for that reason, it at least needs to be acknowledged in this video. Now, I've never used this weapon in PvP or PvE, but I've been on the receiving end, and I can tell you it is not fun for the victim. We have the Gold Tracer. This is a bleed weapon with some beautiful reach, and on top of that, it offers you A scaling right off the get-go. At plus 5, this weapon is going to offer you 195 base attack, plus that A scaling, and it is an absolute monster. You will find that players will lock you into the R1 combo, or sometimes try and throw you off with the unique R2 moveset. This weapon can also be paired with the Dark Silver Tracer to offer you a really cool looking and unique moveset, and I feel like this combo planted the seed for what we saw in the future with weapon arts in Dark Souls 3 and in Bloodborne. It's time to get started on our top 5, starting with the Great Scythe. This weapon is the absolute truck of trucks when it comes to the dexterity field. At plus 15, this offers you 250 base attack with the A scaling and dexterity. Combine that with its long reach, and it is absolutely scary to be on the opposite end of. The drawbacks, however, is the awkward moveset, which can leave you open for backstabs and vulnerable if a player is smart enough to know how to counteract you. However, this clumsy moveset can be used to your advantage, because you have a large window to continue your combo. And that's good because you can catch a player off guard and making them feel like you ran out of stamina and then open with another swing and dish out some crazy damage. This is also a bleed weapon, but it's harder to build up because it is slow swinging, but this is not a weapon you want to sleep on by any means. At number 4, we have one of the fan favorites in Dark Souls 1, QUELAAG'S Fury Sword. This weapon starts with a B in dexterity off the get-go and remains the same at plus 5. But what makes this weapon insane is the fact that not only is it extremely dependable in being that it's a mixture of base raw damage and fire, when maximizing this weapon to plus 5 using Demon Titanite, both the base damage and fire damage increase together, capping out at 90 base and 255 fire. You can increase the damage even further, carrying 10 humanity, giving you an extra plus 25 base damage and plus 56 fire attack. I'm going to include a chart up on the screen that will show you the humanity increases. It's really important that you use that with this weapon. A big shout out to Dark Souls Wiki over at fextralife.com for providing that quality information. Next up at number 3 we have the Falcchion. Now this is similar to the Gold Tracer, except this does not give you the bleed output. In turn, you can turn around and buff this with things like Sunlight and Dark Moonblade, making it extremely deadly when spamming things like the R1 button. But I don't recommend you do that because that can open you up for a parry, so you do want to switch things up to catch your opponent off guard. Now plus 15, this weapon gets A scaling and Dexterity, and caps out at the base damage of 205. So with the proper point allocation, just like other weapons, you can really use this to dish out crazy amounts of damage. At number 2 we have the Balder Side Sword. Now this one is an absolute beast in PvP especially, and the reason why I say that is because you're swinging at a low stamina cost and you're getting insane reach with a compact weapon that has a scaling at plus 15 and maximizes at 200 base damage plus the additional points through scaling. Now, this weapon is extremely diversive also in just the amount of moves that you can do with it, and this is one of those things that you go up against in PvP and you're always gonna be guessing, because you can come out of a roll attack, get insane reach. You can wield this one-handed, two-handed, and keep your opponent guessing. So even though the drop rate is extremely low from the Balder Knights on this, and you can pick this up in the Undead Church, or up in Sen's Fortress, this is worth the farm. Definitely pick this up and use this if you haven't. And last but not least, number 1, my absolute favorite dexterity and weapon as a whole in Dark Souls 1, the Painting Guardian Sword. Where do I begin with this? Anyone who knows me, you know how I feel about this. I covered this in a previous video. This weapon is an absolute monster. It packs a absolute crazy amount of damage output. It's compact at 1.5 pounds, and on top of that, the upgrade scaling is absolutely outstanding. At plus 15, you're going to get the A scaling with a base damage rate of 190. However, one of my favorite ways to utilize this weapon is to go down the enchanted route and go ahead and get that S scaling and intelligence. On top of that, this weapon offers you bleed damage and a absolutely crazy hard to predict moveset. So even though the drawback is the short reach, if you can position yourself right and get your moves off, keep your opponent guessing, you're going to do work, they're going to bleed out, game over. And that is it for my top 5 favorite dexterity weapons of all time in Dark Souls 1. This was really fun to do, so definitely feel free to leave your opinion on my list below, and leave a list of your own, whether it be a specific class of weapons or just a general top 5 list. Who knows, I might feature an area that I'm not familiar with, for example strength weapons, and showcase some really cool stuff from a subscriber with some really good information in a future video. So until then, this has been Gia. Enjoy your weekend, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Later.